To actually move the CSI model from just theory into everyday practice, we really need to examine some real-world applications. So we're going to dive into this through a hands-on practical scenario exercise, along with two detailed case studies, looking at both the Bulgarian and broader European levels. We'll also explore the nuts and bolts of structured action planning and wrap up by looking at the absolutely critical roles that leadership and change management play in actually driving the CSI adoption forward. Okay, let's start with phase 4, implement. This is exactly where all those planned security measures are finally put into practice. The main objective here is to deploy practical controls that actively mitigate the risks you've already identified. Now, doing this requires a dual approach. On one hand, you have technical measures, things like identity and access managements, encryption, and solid backups. But you have to pair those with process changes, like incident response plans and regular access reviews. And to tie it all together, staff training and validation exercises. That's how you ensure true, lasting effectiveness. It's the precise moment where all your security improvements finally become operational. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. Phase 4 is often the most demanding phase on your resources. It's heavy lifting. But it is also where the actual tangible security improvement happens. It's where the rubber meets the road. Right, so once everything is implemented, we naturally move right into phase 5, which is verify. The core objective here is quite simple. You need to ensure that your new controls aren't just turned on and active, but that they are actually effective, compliant, and continuously being improved upon. So how do organizations actually achieve this? Well, by collecting concrete evidence, like system logs and reports, measuring KPIs, conducting strict audits, and crucially, identifying lessons learned. And these findings, they don't just sit collecting dust on a shelf. They feed directly right back into the next CSI cycle. You see, each verify phase makes the organization that much better prepared for the next round of analyze, define, and plan. The CSI model doesn't ever truly end a verify. It just begins all over again.
Now, let's make this practical with a scenario. I want you to step into the role of a security officer. Picture an SMA with up to 50 employees, heavily relying on several SaaS applications and a cloud infrastructure as a service provider.
Here's your playbook. First up, you absolutely must identify all your cloud services and data. Once you have that solid inventory, you'll use the CSI matrix to assess and prioritize your risks. Only after doing that do you go ahead and define specific mitigation actions for those highest priority threats. Once those are defined, you need to assign clear responsibilities and set your KPIs. And finally, verify the results through hard, undeniable evidence. This is exactly how the CSI model functions out there in the real world.
Let's look at a couple of case studies to really drive this home. Case study 1 examines a small Bulgarian service company. Like many, they completely relied on cloud-based email, file storage, and various collaboration tools. But as phishing attacks targeting their employee accounts began to escalate rapidly, this company suddenly found itself facing some severe, growing risks. We're talking massive potential for credential compromise and, worst-case scenario, total data exposure. Now, the CSI model acts essentially like a firewall against this exact type of scenario. It prevents these compromises right from the start through early risk identification, establishing strictly defined policies, putting robust identity and access management controls in place, and backing it all up with proactive monitoring and continuous audits. Our second case study really highlights the dangerous reality of cloud adoption without proper security governance. A European SME decided to quickly migrate their applications and customer data straight to a public cloud, completely bypassing any sort of security risk assessment. Fast forward a few months, and a publicly accessible storage bucket was discovered. Why? Just basic misconfigured permissions and a total lack of monitoring. The fallout was brutal. Massive customer data exposure, severe operational disruption, lasting reputational damage, and of course, heavy GDPR implications. The saddest part? This disaster was entirely preventable. The CSI model would have stopped this in its tracks. It would have caught the exposed assets during the analysis phase, established strict access policies in the define phase, prioritized monitoring during the plan phase, implemented proper IAM and logging in the implement phase, and instantly detected any configuration drift through audits during the verify phase. So after identifying all these risks, whether that's through a readiness assessment, the CSI matrix, or lessons learned from a case study, an organization has to take those findings and turn them into structured action plans.
Now, a truly strong action plan demands 5 non-negotiable elements. First up is risk prioritization. You really need to focus on what has the highest impact and likelihood. Second, clearly defined mitigation actions. We're talking specific technical or procedural controls here, not just vague good intentions. Third, assigned responsibilities to guarantee accountability. Fourth, strict timelines and clear milestones. And fifth, measurable KPIs to actually track your effectiveness. Get these 5 things right, and you create an actionable structure that can tackle virtually any cloud security risk.
But remember, action planning isn't the finish line. It's actually the catalyst for your continuous improvement cycle. The entire CSI approach demands ongoing, relentless evaluation. It relies heavily on 4 key activities: tracking your KPIs through dashboards, rigorously reviewing logs and alerts, conducting regular audits, and dynamically updating your controls the moment new threats emerge. Continuous improvement literally means constantly evaluating how effective your controls are, hunting down new risks, and then repeating that CSI cycle all over again. For SMEs in particular, this effectively bakes security right into your everyday operations. It sharpens your daily practices, ensures you stay compliant, and drastically strengthens your overall resilience against ever-evolving threats. This right here, this is a true heartbeat of the CSI model. Now, implementing the CSI model is never just a purely technical exercise. It absolutely requires strong leadership, crystal clear communication, and a genuine company culture focused on continuous improvement.
Especially in SMEs, leaders play the defining role in embedding these secure practices. It requires engaging your stakeholders early on, defining crystal clear roles, communicating your expectations, and of course, fully supporting ongoing training. Leaders really have to balance ensuring strict accountability while simultaneously encouraging continuous improvement. And you do that through open feedback, adopting a blameless incident reporting culture, and genuinely learning from past experiences.
Because SMEs often have to operate with limited staff and people wearing multiple hats, leadership must actively account for those shared responsibilities and put compensating controls into place. At the end of the day, it's effective leadership that ensures the CSI model actually transforms from just some theoretical framework into an everyday operational practice. We've now worked through the complete CSI cycle together, and if there is one thing you take away, let it be this exact quote. The CSI model is not a one-time project. Every time you reach the verify phase, the cycle begins again, stronger, better informed, and more resilient than before. So as you take a hard look at your own organization's infrastructure today, are you prepared to take that first step and begin the cycle?